There we go. Now it's quiet. Quiet enough for me to say hello, Michael.
How's it going?
Good. Hello, JJ.
Hello.
uh I have a question. I want to do a thing maybe once in a while where I just hit you with a question that you're not prepared for up the top here. Welcome to We Were Gamers, a question based podcast.
It
All
is?
questions all the time. Yeah. Well, we're left with more questions than answers, I'm sure. Often. I mean, I feel that way every day.
Some would say life is a question.
Oh. Yeah, that could be true. Have you ever had a food ruined for you in a good way?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I need some context.
I ate at a place called Dragon Teeth in San Francisco. And yesterday I was looking for a breakfast sandwich here, not in San Francisco and not at that restaurant. And I went to get a coffee, and they had some breakfast sandwiches. They made a crucial mistake, which is that they had some photographs of their food available. I guess I could have seen them online, and that would have been the same thing on Yelp or something. But they had them there on the menu, and I looked at them and I said, well, none of those are going to be as good as the one that I had there. I'm not sure I'll ever eat a breakfast sandwich like that again because I don't know if I can get one that's that good.
Okay. I know the situation you're talking about.
Yeah. Has that happened to you before? I'm ruined on basic biscuit, egg, and bacon breakfast sandwiches now. I can't do it.
Like because you think they're bad because this other one was so good, or just
I will just be disappointed. Right? Has
Mhm.
there ever been a food where you're just like, I can't order that because I know based on what I've had before, I'll just be disappointed.
I'm sure I have an answer to this question, but I just naturally forget things over time and then am
So
back to like, oh, this is pretty good.
you're a
So
human being.
I actually kind of have two answers. One is one is very specific like yours, and it is my favorite restaurant for Chinese food is also in San Francisco. Surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
Um and it's nowhere else that I have been in the States has come close. And so with that, I kind of have to compartmentalize. So I
Uh-huh.
put it in its own little bubble by itself, and that is like the standard. And then there's everything else, right? And everything else has grades of how good it is. And I if I'm constantly comparing to the one that's the standard, I'm always going to be disappointed. But if I separate it out, then I can still enjoy things that are at a different level, even if they are not the same. So
That,
that's answer one. Two is kind of a broader one, and it has to do with where I grew up, and it's North Carolina style barbecue,
That
right?
North Carolina. Oh, okay.
Specifically pulled or chopped pork.
Uh-huh.
It's the kind of thing that you see on menus at a lot of places, but what you get is not truly North Carolina style barbecue. And so having grown up eating the real thing, the imitations hold a very dim candle.
But as long as that pulled pork is not trying to be Carolina style, it's not a problem, right?
No,
Like,
that is it. It is specifically things that bill themselves as Carolina style,
huh.
right? Like if you just have a standard pulled pork sandwich,
Yeah.
that's fine. I have a different expectation of what it's going to be compared to North Carolina style barbecue sandwich.
I want to go back to your first point. Maybe JJ can settle the tie here. Because if I find something to be the standard, that's it for me. I can't compartmentalize that because that to me means that there's a better option somewhere or that someone else somewhere could do it better.
so here's my answer to that, Andrew. And the answer is, so let's say you eat at a ridiculously fancy restaurant like the French Laundry or some,
Mm,
outrageously expensive place, right?
sure.
And you have some dish that is transcendent, just like the best tasting food you've ever eaten. And then, but it's just like something normal, you know, it's like mashed potatoes.
Oh,
Or a
okay.
steak.
You've thrown a wrench into my answer. Dang
And
it.
so now the answer is like, oh, well, I can only have the best mashed potato or steak, right? Yeah, perfect. I can only have the best steak or the best mashed potatoes if I spend $9,000 on this dinner again. Is you can't compartmentalize on that?
I think you saved an easy answer for me, which was oftentimes when I go to a fancy restaurant, the meal is so rich that I don't care if I can get the same thing ever again, right? Uh, because you can't eat that kind of stuff all the time. But when you
Right.
say something
And
like
so it's
a steak, I feel like, oh man, you know, kind of. This is going to be a weird analogy for a second here, but how much do you guys know about clipping in digital imaging? So like when you take a picture, right, and you take a picture towards the sun and it's white and there's no data there, that's clipping, right? Like a microphone clips when you have it set too high.
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's clipping on digital image processing, and then there's film processing, which in theory it's very hard to make clip it. I'm going to use the digital image processing analogy here. My taste buds at a certain point, they just clip. And so so a certain grade of steak is very good, right? And then you just say, okay, well, nothing can be better than this grade, even though it might be more expensive. So a $9,000 steak and a $50 steak will probably taste about the same.
So
But
then
yes, I would say that
so like
$50 steak is something that I would gravitate towards instead of having a $3 steak. At like, I'm not gonna order a steak at
and so then I think you
Denny's
have to
because I've had
apply
a steak at Morton's.
right. And so I think you have to apply the same thing to your breakfast sandwiches here. Just because you've had this one unbelievable, like life ruining breakfast sandwich in San Francisco,
But it wasn't
you're not
galactically
in San Francisco.
expensive.
It's not about the
It
price.
doesn't have to be.
It's about access. You don't have access to something, right? If it's not available to you. If you lived in San Francisco, well, you could just go back to that place all the time and have
Sure.
it, right?
But does
But you
access
don't,
mean
and
that you have
so
to
you
settle?
kind of have to have what you get.
So
No, I think
non-access means I have
Price
to
is
settle.
access, but price that's what money literally is for.
Yeah, but you didn't get my analogy then when I said basically price is not access, because in general a price eventually doesn't mean anything, right? Like that's why I'm saying it's a bad analogy. I was trying to come up with an analogy that works. I don't know that price and access matter to me.
If anything,
Okay.
I think it should motivate you to try and find a breakfast sandwich here that is at least as good as the one you had.
Yes, that mission has begun.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so many places serving breakfast sandwiches. One has to be like good enough or close to good enough or better than this place you went.
I
It can't
think
be the only place in the universe that serves a great breakfast
I
sandwich.
think sometimes the answer is you just have to do it yourself.
How much butter you got lying around?
Probably
And
not
salt?
enough.
Butter and salt. How many biscuits can I make at a time to make it worth it?
Well, it's, the real question is how much shortening do you have in the house?
Oh man, you know what? The Christmas cookies just got made, so I think the shortening has disappeared.
Oh, yeah, that'll
Good.
do it.
Need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can make like small amounts of biscuits, you know, and then just like eat them for lunches or whatever after that. The issue is going to be making them fluffy and as tasty as a place like that will make them, because they use all the butter and shortening and salt and stuff that makes them taste real good. And doing that at home
Flaky.
is
Mm-hmm.
either very time consuming or you make yourself feel bad with how much bad ingredients you put into the mix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
don't
they've
want
got
to.
the techniques down.
Yeah, you don't want to know how it's made, right? Oh man.
In general, I have found having a cousin who is in the restaurant business and like does a lot of like chef type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like finding out how they make those steaks that are so great at restaurants, and you're like, oh, I could do this, but I will not.
Yeah, it's some work.
Huh. You
Do
know,
you have time to sous vide your
I-
steaks in butter? I don't. But you
yeah,
could.
I mean, you should have time to sous vide your steaks in butter. Didn't you get that one that hooks up to your phone?
Uh, no, but look, man, if you want to fill a bag with butter and then put steak in it and melt it, you feel real bad.
Yeah.
It comes out good.
Sure, yeah, but that's not the question.
Nope.
Right.
Nope. Okay. We'll table that for now because we missed my planned transition of sometimes it's better to do it yourself. I don't know which part of this to do it in, but I have a list here in front of me of some stuff we're going to talk about in component class today. And one of them is a pre-built computer.
Okay.
And someone around here decided to do it themselves.
I figured out where the transition is going.
Yeah. I want to know which one we should do first. Because the question from Matt is, where did I go wrong? And he sent us a pre-built PC parts list.
Okay.
From one of those
Okay.
pre-built
So we're
Cyber, I think. You know what? I'm not going to give out the brand. I already said half of it. That's enough. We could critique it, I guess. I don't particularly know. I haven't stared at it. We could critique it. We could say, hey,
run
this
down
is
the list of parts here real quick and
Yeah.
see if there's anything that stands out.
So there's also other component class questions, and I figured today is a good day to do it since JJ posted a little Instagram.
Yeah, there's content on our Instagram, folks. Go check that out.
With his
I didn't
blacked
take
out.
enough. I should have taken a picture after I plugged it in because the black theme goes away instantaneously as soon as the GPU gets power.
You got those LEDs going.
It's like JJ murdered out his PC.
I can't turn them off. I don't have a control over the LEDs on the thing. It's just they're on.
All right, here we go. First component on the list means maybe Matt did not go to Gamers Nexus per our suggestion on this podcast. Processor 11900K.
Ooh.
This is the one he said was a waste of silicon, right?
Yeah, the 11 series.
Yikes.
I have looked a lot at benchmarks for this thing, and based on the price you get it at, it's the same as buying a 10900K. So I don't think that it's a quote unquote waste of sand for someone that's getting it now if they got it at a good price.
Yeah, I was going to say the answer to everything is if you can get it cheap enough, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think Gamers Nexus is the point that Gamers Nexus is trying to make is that when it came out, it was priced more and then was worse than the previous one.
Right.
Now, if you can get it for cheaper or, less than the cost of the previous generation one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Motherboard Asus Z590A Gaming Edition Wi-Fi. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Got the Wi-Fi. The 590 is a good line.
Z, yeah. So some overclocking potential in there.
I'm not familiar with the A designator. The
I think
S
A
is the silent one, right?
A is no. S only exists for AMD.
Okay.
Those chips ran hot, so the 570 series. The 590A, I think, is their gaming designation for Wi-Fi. So,
okay.
I don't think it's anything special. I think it's just a sub thing from Asus. Let's look here. What's next on the list is 3200 megahertz Crucial RAM. I don't know exactly what.
How many?
16 gigabytes total. 2 sticks.
So 2 8s.
2 8s. Seems
there's room to upgrade there,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's gonna sink you. Let's keep going to see what else is going on in this build. But that's definitely a place where maybe you could upgrade.
Looks like another Asus part here, 3080. Does not look like a Strix version. I can't see Strix on here. So I don't know if
Still
they
strong.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, good card. Regular 3080, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a 30 anything, probably it's strong enough these days.
Yeah. Let's see. Power supply, 750 watt. Corsair. Doesn't say if it's an RMX or whatever. Doesn't matter because they're not building. So the build,
Yeah,
if you're a
750 is
builder, you
probably
kind of
enough.
care.
I think that's
Yeah,
probably enough.
like the
I would
RAM, it
have to.
could have been higher, I guess, but it doesn't matter.
If you're not going to get way into overclocking, you may not end up needing the extra voltage, in which point you're probably okay.
Yeah. And we've
Or
got
extra wattage. Sorry.
oh, interesting. This is down at the bottom of the list. There's a 240 millimeter AIO for the CPU Cooler
Cool.
Master.
Okay.
So I guess you really
Good
could
brand.
overclock this thing.
I would have to go look at the Gamers Nexus list and see where this one ranks because I don't know enough about this.
I don't know off the top of my head, but we could talk about mine and why I chose it whenever that comes up. When we talk about maybe your cooler, because I know roughly where mine was on the list, but I did not recall this one at all. And that's all in a Lian Li Air 2, I think is what this says here. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's got some fans pre-built in it, I assume, because it's a Lian Li Air case. Cool. Did I miss anything?
No mention of hard drives.
Oh, interesting. Hold on. Let me flip back through the...
There's got to be some amount of storage.
Yeah, it looks like it is a hybrid 1 terabyte SSD MSI and a 4 terabyte Toshiba.
So the
Hard ice.
hybrid one probably means it's like laptop style 2.5 inch SSD.
Do you
via
think?
SATA, I would
That's
guess.
a 4 terabyte other drive. Maybe it's hybridized in terms of how they run the BIOS. I don't know what hybrid means here because it looks like 2 drives on this spec sheet.
Yeah. So hybrid is that's a type of like DRAM technology or something.
Can you have a hybrid that big? I didn't think you could.
You can look. You can do anything. I just want to know like is one of them are they both connected via SATA and is that 4 terabyte one a like spinning plate? I assume it must be, right?
It has
At
to
that
be.
size, probably.
I can't get a clear answer to that. This is just like a order spec sheet. So I don't know the answer to that off of this.
My guess is the way that's worded because it doesn't say like M.2 or
No, it does not.
NVMe. That means that one is not an M.2 or an NVMe.
Okay.
In which case, that's another upgrade, I guess, that you could make.
Sure.
Yeah. But, regular SSDs are pretty fast and you'll probably be all right. If a 4 terabytes is a lot of space, man, you will be set.
Yeah.
That's a lot of space.
That's a lot.
As long as you don't mind it being slow.
Yeah.
Don't install your games or whatever to that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you could in the future get a M2 SSD because I know that Z590A I was looking at definitely has a bunch of M2 slots, at least 2 that you could use.
Yeah, I would expect them to have at least 2. Yeah,
and you could upgrade by adding a different one if this is actually a hybrid drive. I don't know. Overall, I mean, it's a pretty, what I would say, standard. Don't let people make fun of you for that 11900. I mean, it's not real well reviewed because of how it came out at the time, but I think it's not a bad thing to buy now if you got it cheap enough. I don't want to say what this person paid. That's not fair.
Yeah, I feel like the key thing with any of this is how much did you pay, right?
Yeah.
And if you can get all that system as a whole, doesn't sound bad.
Yeah.
No.
There's like a few places you could come in and spend a little more money if you don't think it's doing what you want, but it's probably going to do most of what you want, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Unless what you want is like 4K, which again, where did you get a 4K monitor? Who has those? Aren't they like $7,000?
Oh, who knows? I would like to know. Yeah, there's no monitor listed here. There's a mouse and keyboard. I don't recognize the brands. I don't see the brands. Anyway, awesome. Well, thanks for emailing that. That was cool to review, I guess. We also have another email. We could do it afterwards. Let's do this other email afterward because it makes more sense after we talk about what you built, my friend.
Yeah, so we've been talking about building up components and whatnot, and I finally got the last of mine in over the course of the last couple weeks.
What was the last thing to show up? That you were like, oh, where is this thing?
Oh, I mean, I don't think there was one that I was waiting on. There was one I had to retrieve um, that someone else had purchased for me.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Sorry about that.
but it is what it is. Got it done, no problem. But there were no like shipping delays or anything. It was just a matter of like I finally got them all assembled and then had time this past weekend to put them together. So I did, and I posted some pictures up on the Instagram. I should have taken more pictures earlier on. I noticed there's no picture of me putting the M.2 SSD in there.
I'll try and take some pictures when we do ours over here of that type of stuff. Send me a list of what you think you forgot, and I'll try and do that when I build over here.
I didn't take any pictures of me installing the cooler fan.
Oh, that's exciting.
That thing was bigger than I thought. But also like it was I haven't done so
back up, start over.
Yeah,
NH15 Noctua, which
right,
I think
the
means we're
Noctua
gonna have some of the
NH15.
same fans going in our PC. I wonder what do they use Chromax fans on that? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean the thing is Chromax, and I assume the fans are Chromax
Okay,
as well.
so I bought a bunch of Chromax to replace the stock fans in the Meshify case that I bought.
Cool.
So for the PC,
I didn't
case
replace
fans.
any of the case fans or anything. I just with the ones on the CPU.
One of
cooler.
my biggest desires is a low noise level from my computer.
So Andrew, let me tell you about this graphics card that you have, since I think you and I have the same one.
No, I have a Gigabyte one.
Oh, you got a Gigabyte one? It's
Yeah.
not Asus?
No, I have a Gigabyte. I don't know what the breakdown number of it is, but it wasn't
Okay.
anything special.
Well, because I was going to tell you this Asus ROG Strix one is loud.
Oh, really?
You're going to hear it.
Really?
I don't know about it. You can hear it.
Does it spin down?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It will.
Well,
Yeah.
'cause-
there's modes. You can set it to
Yeah.
it has a performance mode and a Q, like a P mode and a Q mode. And if you set it to Q mode, it will spin all the way down once it's cool enough.
Okay.
But it's not frequently cool enough unless you're
should
doing
not
nothing.
be, right? Should not be cool enough.
Yeah, like it's not on now while I'm sitting here recording this podcast with you. But if I open any game, it'll turn on immediately.
Whee! Oh, that's too bad. My 1070 is an Asus, and it's not that loud. It is the loudest thing in the case, but it's not that loud.
This thing has 3 fans instead of the 2 that are on your 1070.
Yeah, that should help with the cooling.
No, that's not why they put that 3rd fan on there. You don't seem to understand.
So you're saying it's a little hot in there?
Yeah. I've seen when I've been playing some Diablo 2 Resurrected, I can get 145 frames locked, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the GPU is up at like 70 or 80.
Wow, really? Just for D2?
Yeah, I mean it's doing 145 frames at 1440p, and like I turned every effect to ultra, right?
Of course.
That's worrisome to me because I want to run my games on ultra at 120 hertz or 144 hertz.
But I think it's fine. Like the fans are on. It's not like it's overheating and going to like the overheat mode or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I could turn the switch on the physical card back to P mode and get more out of it probably, but I have it on Q.
It's a switch.
It's a physical switch.
Oh,
that's shocking.
Yeah, I don't know. This is their like gaming OC, thing here. Yeah, it is also the only piece of my build that is not jet black. It is.
It's got some
RGB.
gray, right? Some gunmetal.
No, I mean it has like LED lights all over it, man. It's like whatever color. It's like the RGB lights are doing whatever. Because my motherboard does not support their like RGB LED protocol or whatever that all the Asus components use.
Yeah, so you have to do it
because my motherboard is like a workstation style motherboard that's like not really meant to support that stuff.
Well, you can still get it.
I have
after
no control
boot.
over these lights.
You can get it after boot. still if you want to.
So there's a program you can run,
Yeah.
but the program sucks and it feels like bloatware, and so I was just like, I don't want this running, and I closed it.
Oh, interesting. I use that for all my anything that I can control the LEDs on. I use whatever I need to do to control them and turn them to a very soft blue white that is not pulsing and not doing anything other than being a very soft blue white. Just sit there and just be soft and white and don't do anything else, please.
So I mean, it is a small splash of color running like a band that runs. It's like doing
Yeah.
a
Ignorable
rainbow pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
that bad.
Well, how did the build
yeah, it was
go?
fun.
Yeah, it went well overall.
Yeah, I think again, since I haven't done CPU coolers much, I am a type of person who in the past would have always just recommended you use the stock cooler because this stuff doesn't matter that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then Gamers
so
Nexus got to you.
having to use the not stock cooler, well, because like the CPU didn't come with one.
Oh,
at
that's
all
right.
anyway,
These AMD CPUs don't come with a cooler. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's
don't.
nothing in there.
I knew
So
I knew I
had to
wasn't
get
going to use
something.
one anyway.
I had to get something.
Yeah.
I knew I don't plan to do a ton of overclocking.
Right.
And I knew that I didn't care. I wanted like some amount of noise, but also I didn't want to have to deal with the potential of a AIO, which would eventually need replacement in 6 years or whatever. And so I was like, all right, so I got this air cooled Noctua NHD15 or whatever it is. The only concern I have that I saw online is that this cooler comes in two versions. There's the newer version, which only has one fan, which slots in between the two metal towers.
Okay.
And there's an older version that comes with two fans,
Yeah.
which does better because two fans instead of one.
Yeah.
Right.
But the second fan, depending on how you sit it, can block access to your RAM
Uh-oh.
because it hangs that far out over that side.
Did you block access to your RAM?
No.
Okay.
I got it. I mounted the fan a little bit higher, and it would not really have caused interference anyway. But maybe if I had like tall fins or something on the RAM, that certainly could have potentially caused an issue. But that was fine. Also remembering to mount the M2 SSD, which is under like a weird piece of metal,
Yeah.
and also is directly underneath where the video card goes.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to go like, oh yeah, I can't put this video card in. I need to do the M2 SSD.
Yeah, what a weird thing.
But yeah,
huh?
it was pretty strange.
How long until motherboards just come with storage on them?
That's definitely a thing in embedded systems, but I don't know. I think there's enough money in manufacturing the purpose-built components and getting people to buy them.
I think you're right.
They're not going to do that, but there's nothing like electrically stopping them, right? They could just stick a bunch of DRAM chips on there and here you go, here's your built-in hard drive or whatever.
I mean, they do it in laptops now, so
yeah.
it's not. I was just curious if we'd see it ever come across to this space, but I think you're right that there's more money in making me go out and decide if I want a 970 Evo, 980 Pro. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's more money in those options. I think you're right.
I think when you get to the point of individually selecting a motherboard, that having that built in it's an in-between that I don't know that there's a market for, right? Like you either want stuff that comes pre-assembled or you want to assemble everything yourself. And having one piece built in already doesn't seem like it would be enough of a customer base for it to make sense.
Man, and you know what? Let me say, after the spreadsheet that I built to try and make sure that I was picking the motherboard that I wanted, if I had to include how much storage came on those things, no thanks.
Yeah. So my most pro tips to people, number one, go download all of your BIOS updates for your motherboard before you try and install that stuff on the new computer. So that way you can get all the BIOS updates and stuff done before you start installing Windows, because most of the BIOSes will have like update utilities or whatever. download all those on your current computer, stick them on a thumb drive, and plug that thumb drive in and do that process from within the BIOS when you have to be there anyway when it's first booting.
Good point.
Yep. And most of the the BIOS manufacturers will give you good directions on exactly how to do that.
Absolutely. And in fact, this motherboard manufacturer has like a utility you can run from inside Windows. But like, why do that? You're going to have to be sitting. The utility then just restarts your computer and kicks you to the BIOS.
Right.
So once you actually have to do the update, it has to do that anyway. So you're already going to be at the BIOS screen. Just do the update in there. So make sure you have all those files downloaded in advance. Download stuff like drivers for your chipset. Download drivers for any other weird utilities and stuff. If you have like 2 Ethernet cards on there or weird stuff like that on your BIOS, on your motherboard, get all those drivers and stuff ready in advance. Additionally, if you're using AMD, a lot of the older or the like certain revisions of BIOS aren't compatible with the newest AMD chips. You may have to download a BIOS revision to support that stuff. Most of them have that, but make sure if you're using one of those like 5000 series chips, make sure it supports that chip before you try to turn it on, or you're gonna have a really bad time.
Well, I mean, other than it just not working, what would be your bad time?
I mean, it wouldn't boot. Yeah, you would get to the BIOS and it would just be like, nope, because it just wouldn't recognize your CPU and then would just do nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
How would you, if you had one that wasn't updated, then how would you? You'd have to switch it out or something.
You would need to go, find another computer, get a thumb drive,
Yeah.
go get the
Go through
BIOS
that whole
update.
process.
And if they don't have one, then you made a mistake buying the wrong motherboard
Yeah.
or CPU.
I mean, are there other components that you would do from there versus waiting until you're in Windows to do firmware? Like, I know Samsung now has
that's
its own
really the
utilities
stuff.
to do firmware.
So like, if you had, so a lot of the stuff that I had for like firmware for my hard drives or SSDs and that stuff,
You just ran in
wouldn't
Windows.
run. It needed to have Windows. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was no point in doing that stuff until you were there. Certainly go take some time and make a Windows 10 media creation utility or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
And format a USB drive into like a Windows installer USB drive. Don't try to make that the same one that you put all those drivers on.
Yep.
You need 2 separate ones.
Yeah, 2 separate drives. Good advice there. Did you before you got into installing Windows do any overclocking? Did you need to force your RAM to recognize that it was faster RAM?
Sure, yeah. So when I booted it up, it used the stock timings, like the stock JDEC ones or whatever for my RAM.
Mm-hmm.
I had to enable it would be called XPP on a Windows or on a Intel machine, but it's called like DOHC or something like that on an AMD board. And I turned that on, and then it immediately gave me the option to select the high speed of the RAM that I bought, and I set that, and it goes, "Oh yeah, okay, we got it." Yep. And then I rebooted it. It applied that. Have had no issues since.
So then Windows recognized it as the right speed and everything's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then you go through installing Windows. One of my hard drives didn't show up in the BIOS, which was a little frustrating. But as soon as the Windows installer kicked off, it was like, "Hey, you got this drive over here. You want to do something with it?"
What?
And I was like, "Oh, yes, I do."
How would it not show up in the BIOS but then be recognized by Windows? That's weird.
So I think it was because it was unformatted because it was brand new.
Oh.
And the BIOS recognized the 2 formatted ones.
How did you format those in advance, or were they just formatted by
No, they
whoever?
were from my old system.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't get rid of any hard drives. After I got into Windows, I reformatted the one that had the old Windows install on it. And the other one was just files, so I just kept the files.
You dragged everything over to your new system. That's cool.
Anything that wasn't on the just files drive got wiped, obviously. But all the just file stuff, why not bring it forward?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would personally not bring forward some stuff that you're bringing forward just because I don't like noise. But that's the hard drive hater in me.
Yeah, I I don't hear that hard drive over the sounds of other things in the system, so
Sure.
it doesn't bother me.
No, and I don't have anything against magnetic drives. I'm thinking about building a new network storage. Obviously, I'll need some platters for that because you're not doing it on
Yeah.
SSDs, you know?
I mean, not unless you're really brave.
Kind of insane, in my opinion. Cool, man. I mean, so did you've never mounted a CPU cooler that big, or you haven't in a while? Did you use the stock paste and everything else and just stick it on, or did you get brave and do it
Yeah,
yourself?
so it came with paste, so I used the paste that it came with. Some Noctua branded paste. I don't know if it's particularly good or anything.
Did you have to apply it?
But yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you have to put some on
Well,
there.
so like this cooler that I got, the AIO already had it applied.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've seen some of them do.
Nice.
But no, I just had a little tube. I just made a little X and some dots or whatever, and called it good.
Yeah, most of that, I think people worry a little too much about the paste. As long as there's enough on there, it's not going to matter.
Games Nexus has a video on this. They tested a bunch of different configurations, and the answer is exactly what you said. Unless you put too little, it's basically fine.
Tom's Hardware also has one where they tested every pattern you could possibly think of, and they were like, just put a blob in the middle.
Yeah.
Little dab will do you.
Yeah. I think it was the size of a pea or something. That's what he was saying. Maybe a little bigger now. Cool. Right on. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it was very cool.
You're
So would you
the first one out of the
would
gate.
you boot up to benchmark it?
Yeah. Let's hear about those frames other than D2, or was it only D2?
I have not run any benchmarks.
But D2, I mean, if you got the new thing going as good as you want it, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I've been very happy. I played Halo Infinite. I had the settings all on max. It seemed fine. Also,
What was the frame rate on that?
as high as it would go.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
60. I don't. You can't make Halo Infinite go as fast as you want.
Oh, that's
There's
right,
limit.
because it's cross-platform, right?
Yeah,
And they want to lock the frames for some reason. I don't know why.
it's not about locking the frames, I don't think. But anyway, yeah, it's a. It takes a bit.
That is the locked frame game, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Right on. JJ, have you, or Michael?
Yes.
Part 1 of this email here for component class. Since we were talking about fans, I've never heard of this brand. Kaizo fan.
No,
and
I have not heard of him.
I've looked it up. I still can't find it. Maybe it's a typo. Hey, if you wrote us about Kaizo fans, because I had mentioned on this Noctua, which Michael, you heard JJ talk about there. Those are supposedly the most quietest versions of fans you can get. But then you get accused of being a fanboy because you bought them. Where all I did was look at the decibel levels and choose the quietest ones. I don't know what those are. I don't know if anybody had heard of them before. Okay, here's this email. I guess we had talked briefly about whether or not we were going to go with AMD or Intel processors. JJ, you and Michael had already decided on AMD processors, and I was still saying I was on the fence about sticking with Intel or not. I'd say if you watch videos on the internet, unfortunately, they'll cure you of that pretty quickly. Unless you buy one of those new 12 series CPUs, I guess. But Alex says they're fantastic and reliable. Yeah? Okay. Good. And this person built on a B450 board with online and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Or you could go with a B550 as well, since you're looking to max out. Okay, so what did we all end up going with for our chipsets on these boards is what I was going to ask based on this email. Thank you for the email, by the way.
I guess I can go first.
Yeah.
You can see on there. It's an X570.
X570 regular.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
yours has
wasn't missing anything there.
yours has a little fan on it somewhere. Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Michael, have you decided? X or B?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, this email may say to you, maybe step down to the B if you're not gonna do anything crazy. In your email, Alex, you said I was looking for extra oomph. Yeah, I was. So I went with the X570S Master because of the maximum number of PCIe 4 lanes that I could get, basically. And thinking about future-proofing the computer to function well as an edit station, as well as a gaming PC. Drove me to the X570 level with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi because JJ said I should get it.
If you want Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, you should get Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on your motherboard and not add it later. That's my constant and permanent opinion.
Those dongles don't work very well, huh?
Even disregarding the dongles, if your other choices are usually PCIe cards, and you don't want those either.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want to use up lanes.
So, those are generally your only choices, and so
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay. Component class wrap up for the day. With a little teaser. JJ's PC will not be the only one we talk about this month.
cool.
Yeah. It's all laid out and ready to go. We will be building it shortly. So look forward to that and more of that content in the future. Yay. Goodness. I think, I don't, do we have time to give it its due? Maybe we don't. Maybe we talk about some Baba levels, bud. Because both of you have played Baba Is You, right? Did I get it right? It's a game that I think that I got in the, what was that pack? The Racial Justice pack from...
Oh, that had like several hundred games in it.
Yeah, that was Humble maybe that did that?
Could be.
Yeah.
They do stuff like that.
Itch.
Itch.
Was it Itch?
It might have been Itch. I don't remember. There were a couple of those at the time.
Yeah.
Baba Is You. Yeah, but we haven't talked about it since probably last year. Why are we talking about it again?
Well, they put out some new content about 3 weeks ago. They put out Baba Make Level, which is the Baba Is You level editor. So it allows
that's
people
like
to...
very cool.
Yeah, so it allows people to make their own Baba Is You levels, and not just that, you can put level packs together and then publish them, and then as a player, you can go out and download other people's level packs and play through them.
Extremely cool.
So like Mario Maker, but better?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily know about better, having not really played around with the Mario Maker
level creator. If there is any searchability at all, it's better than Mario Maker.
Have you tried other people's levels, Michael?
So I haven't gone searching for them, but the update comes with 2 packs by default.
Okay.
And so I've played a little bit of each one of them. One of them is really cool because it's from the developers and it's levels that didn't quite make the cut.
Oh, that's funny.
And the cool thing about it is that they've annotated them. So there are little signposts in the level. And when you move next to them, it gives you a little blurb from the developer about why this level didn't quite make it in.
But now we're giving it to you.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's really, the insights are really interesting.
Did you try to make any levels yet?
No, I have not actually tried to make my own
I'd
yet.
be very curious to see what you can affect in terms of the base function of the game. Like, do you have to basically stay within the rules of Baba Is You, or you can try and do something completely wild and different?
Andrew, Before you ask that question, you need to play Baba Is You.
Yes, and learn just how fluid the quote unquote rules are.
Maybe that could
Yeah.
be done this month. I'm just saying. Maybe that
There
could.
you go.
It's Michael, it's so wild that they did something like that because of how crazy some of those later levels are. I
Yeah,
didn't even get through all of the levels in the game,
neither
and
did I.
definitely didn't even get through all the challenge levels in some of them, like the levels that are like dots instead of numbered. You know,
Yes,
some of those levels are fiendish.
they are.
I like that word.
Especially
I like that word.
especially the ones where you like there's a numbered version of the puzzle and you solve it and you're like, okay, I got this. Then there's a dot version of the puzzle that
And
is
they,
the
they
same puzzle,
take
but they
something
took something
away.
out,
Yes.
probably the thing you used to solve it.
Yeah,
And
they're
then there's a second dot version of the puzzle where they took away the other thing that you used the second time, and now you're like, how is this even possible? It
yeah.
is truly fiendish, some of these puzzles.
But when you get them,
Oh, you feel like
you
a
feel so
genius.
good.
You literally feel like the smartest man alive when you do it. It yeah. It is a very, very cool game.
So you'll like JJ. My favorite thing so far in playing through them is in not in the cutting room floor levels, but in the other pack that came with it. Um, and I don't know if this was a block in the base game, and I just didn't get far enough to see it implemented. But there is a block now that is, in addition to Baba Is You, there is a Is You Too.
Whoa.
And so playing on controller like I do, if there is an Is You and an Is You Too on the screen, they split it up so that the directional pad is one of the characters and the joystick is the other.
Oh my
Oh, I
god.
was
So
thinking
you're
it was like a
going back and
mirror.
forth controlling them. No, you're going back
No.
and forth controlling them independently of one another.
So there are already ways, Andrew, that you can do what you are thinking of, where you're controlling multiple things at the same
Yeah.
time with the
Okay.
same set of
Cool.
controls. That's a key mechanic you learn
Yes,
not
very
early, but you are learn
But
like
marrying
pretty soon.
marrying things together seems like something that would happen based on what you guys talked about in this game.
You
yes.
slide that is you set of blocks in creative ways, and you can do all kinds of funny stuff in that game. Yeah, that is so cool. Wow, I didn't even know they had that. I don't think I got that far.
Yeah, so I don't like I said, I don't know if it existed in the base game, but it is my favorite addition to these new levels so far. They introduced some new characters to go with it,
Yeah, because you would need.
besides
I mean, I
Kiki and
guess.
Baba.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you have only Kiki and Baba, that might not be enough.
Yeah, so the level that they use to introduce you to the concept actually has 4 different characters in it, or 3 different characters in it.
Cool. It's so rad when developers put that kind of stuff out, even if it doesn't go crazy like Mario Maker or these other ones that have gotten super popular. Like, there's going to be some people that just love it enough to create like really cool sets of levels, and it's awesome that that's there for those people. Like, I am interested to see if there's like really cool stuff.
Yeah. So I'd recommend it. I'd recommend playing it. And Andy, now I think is a good time to jump into it.
I gotta find what account I got that in. I think if it was Itch or Humble, I did not end up putting the code into Steam. I just checked, so I gotta find it.
No.
I gotta find it. It's fine. I know I own it because it was one of the things that was in the bundle. I was like, yeah, cool. Here's $50 for Baba Is You and other things. You know, yeah, that's cool. I'm really happy about that. Um, Before we run today, you can either choose. You guys choose. You two vote together. We could either do wrong answers only, or you can give me solicited advice.
Okay.
This is your choices.
I might vote advice.
Advice?
I'm curious what you're asking for
All right.
advice on.
Yeah.
This is gonna be short because it can't be long yet because I haven't beaten the first boss. But maybe I need some unsolicited or solicited advice in beating the first boss in Loop Hero.
Oh.
My main question, and this will give you some direction for your advice. How many loops should it take before I beat this guy? Because sometimes I have like a level 15 axe and I'm murdering the track and I think, okay, I'm good. And then I walk up to the dude and I put down the last tile and he shellacks me.
So for the first boss, it's really important that you take out what are they, JJ? Towers?
Trying to remember which ones. Yeah.
Because when the boss shows up, when the first loop boss shows up, he builds a bunch of structures around the loop.
Yeah.
And the more of them that are still standing when you get to him, the stronger he is.
Oh, no.
No, that's
Okay,
not the
you want to
first boss.
build. No, it is. I'm pretty
Oh.
sure. You want to cover as much of the area around the starting point of the loop as possible, so
That's
that
what
he
it
doesn't
was.
have space to put his structures which power him up.
By the camp, right?
Oh. How was I supposed to know that?
You got to hover over those buildings and look at what they do.
Oh.
Yes.
There's a lot in this game that I'm like, how am I supposed to know what that is? Like, it took me for a while to sort of guess that when there's little droplets of water next to my guy, that means he's tired from too much attack
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
attack speed thing.
Um,
Yeah, pro tip: stacking attack speed is awesome to a point, and then you kind of don't need it that much anymore.
yeah, it's like 40%.
It changes by class, but yeah.
Yeah, so give me your one piece of, hey, if you didn't know this, you need to know this for Loop Hero. I like it quite a bit, by the way. I saw a person that I think we both respect review the game on Steam and say, I don't get it. This game is just waiting. Which I don't necessarily agree with. I feel
This person has not played this game enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I always am pausing to try and figure out what I need to do before letting the thing do stuff.
So I will. What I'll say, Andy, as a piece of advice, is that sometimes, as it pertains to the deck building menu,
Sure.
sometimes less is more.
Yeah, I try to keep it down to
Yeah.
like 10 cards instead of 12.
You can go lower.
Yeah, you can go down to
right?
7.
Like-
I really like some of the combos, and that they don't teach you the combos. You have to sort of pick them up, like the vampires go
Yes.
with the villages kind of thing.
Yep, that's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my strategy so far, just building vampires and villages.
I will say that it is important to, at some point, learn how to optimally place some of the buildings or some of the terrain cards for maximum benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, rocks seem just
Uh,
negligible compared to mountains. Like you should just let rocks burn. By the way, I didn't know you could just let cards burn themselves off and you get stuff for it.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
also
I would-
something good
yeah.
to do. Also, I would say you don't want too many mountains because they spawn harpies, and those harpies are kind of
Oh,
annoying.
how many mountains spawn? How many harpies? So like rocks don't spawn.
I don't
It's
know.
a 3x3. I think you have to have
a 3x3
you have to have a 3x3
set of
grid.
rocks upgrades into a mountain, but once you have one of those, I would never do another one. Basically,
Oh, so hold on. So I know the thing that upgrades into the giant mountain is a 3x3,
yeah, that's
but I can spawn
that's
more
what I'm talking
harpies than that.
yeah. If you make more big
You
mountains,
can't make more than one big mountain.
Does it not
No.
let you? Okay, what am I thinking?
I don't know. You can undo the mountain with Oblivion and rebuild it.
Yeah, because you get stuff when you build that mountain.
Yeah,
right?
you get
Yes.
notable changes, which is one of the resources. You get a resource thing.
Yeah. So it can be worth it to do that over and over. But basically, you build a mountain and then you're kind of done with rocks. You don't really need them much.
Oh, don't they give you
more
health? They give you
beyond that.
health.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are other way more powerful cards that I guess you probably don't have access to yet.
I probably don't.
In terms of terrain, yeah.
Yeah, pieces of terrain that just be like completely outclass
Yeah.
rocks. And which I should've stopped
Treasure
using them.
places seem good. Am I wrong about that?
They're not bad. I didn't use them a ton, but
So the
There are
only
worse ones.
the only thing you have to be careful about with those is that once you surround them and you take everything out of them, they start spawning enemies
What?
themselves.
How do you
Yeah.
tell what's gonna spawn an enemy?
You just have to hover over stuff.
Oh.
Especially when you complete something like surrounding that one and it
Mm-hmm.
changes, you usually
All,
want to hover over it and see what those changes have done because it'll
uh,
tell you, it'll update the description.
yep.
Okay.
And almost always the changes will eventually lead to it spawning monsters.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Just like if you build, what is it, too many villages or whatever, they start spawning
Bandits.
thieves.
Yeah. But
The
you can
bandits,
oblivion the
yeah.
bandits, and they won't spawn if there's nowhere for them to go because there's vampires.
Yeah, the vampires stop the bandits.
Right.
So yeah, there's there are a lot of options. I would say that again, so like the optimal layout stuff, like experimenting with how you can optimally lay out the pieces that combine into other pieces and stuff is like the major part of being really powerful at that game.
Nice.
And if you like learn how to optimally lay out your terrain, you can, become unstoppable very quickly.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
JJ. Before we go, you're not gonna be here for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be out for a
You're
while.
gonna be gone for a little while. We're gonna miss you a lot, but I have to know something before you go. This is your last defense of yourself before you're gone, so make it good. You
Pressure
you
is
don't
on.
like cranberries, but do you like Cranberries the band?
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, I got nothing against the band, the Cranberries.
Uh, we'll miss you.
I'm trying to think if there's like, when did they do the opening to Friends or something?
I know they did that. Wasn't it? No. What is the? They did not. No, they didn't do the opening to Friends. I don't think so. Off the top of my head,
I'm
the
Googling
zombie
it.
song is the
Googling
one
it
the one
now.
that sticks in my
Yeah,
head.
Zombie is the one that everyone knows.
Linger.
Okay, these are
Those
fine.
are the top two that I
You know.
remember. I could look up more.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, they're fine.
Irish rock.
Not jumping on my list of highest rated bands ever, but certainly not anywhere
But
near.
these are the Cranberries you could stomach. That's a throwback, by the way, for everybody that wasn't here. All right, so we're gonna miss you.
I'll miss you guys too.
You're gonna have a great time. We're gonna try to have a great time.
Oh yeah.
There's also sub pods coming that are gonna help us fill the void of our lack of JJ. So keep an eye out for those. At least one carbon scoring. I might split it in half. It was 3 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of podcast.
We hadn't gotten together in a while, and that unfortunately bred a long conversation about a lot of things, mostly about toys and what companies and customers owe to each other, which was interesting. So there's that, and look for other stuff. Maybe Michael and I will play some games. Maybe we can find some time for that this holiday season.
We've got to finish that up.
Yeah, it's been a year.
And I think we'll come back and probably have stuff to say about our things of the year.
Yes. Thank you for shouting that out. If people want to send in their things of the year before January, where should those go?
You can send those to podcast@wewergamers.com, and we will be interested to hear your things of the year when we get around to creating the lists of ours.
They could always change. We got a little bit of time left. Maybe
it's true. The year's
maybe
not
on the
over.
plane you'll listen to them and it'll be the Cranberries.
Could be. Anything is
It's
possible. And you can send other email inquiries to that email address, which is podcast@wewergamers.com. We're also on social media. You can find us at wewergamers on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Check out those photos I posted of my computer on there. I'm sure that they are interesting, or they seemed interesting to me at the
They're
time.
cool. I like how murdered out it is.
Comment on how you think I did with my cable organization in the back.
I'm going to say up front, I noticed some dust in that case.
Yeah, I cleaned it out as much as I could. It was much, much worse. But otherwise, you can follow this podcast on Facebook, or sorry, not on Facebook, on Google, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever fine podcasts are distributed. We're probably on there somehow. And keep a lookout for these two guys and Carbon Scoring and whatever other fun stuff gets posted throughout the rest of this year. Oh, and YouTube. We Were Gamers. YouTube. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a quick end to the year, but it'll be a fun one. And we'll all be back with a little recap and a good time in January. Until then, I hope you have a great trip. Seriously.
Yeah. Safe travels.